Hello and welcome to this video, GCSE Foundation Level 10.1, looking at ratio. Your do now task is to identify the highest common factor of these numbers. Write them down in your book and then work them out. Remember, the highest common factor is the largest number that fits into both integers without leaving a remainder. Pause the video while you work through them. And here are your answers to your do now task. Notice we're looking for the highest common factor, mark them carefully. So for example on H, factors of 24 and 40 include 1, 2, 4 and 8, and we were looking for the highest common factor, so it will be 8. Okay, and when you're ready, click to the next slide. Our learning now is about ratio, and these are things we'll be able to do in here. So, simplifying ratios in their simplest form will be our bronze learning, and there's examples on the right as usual. Expressing a ratio as a fraction and divide amounts in given ratios is silver, and then solving problems that are more complicated involving sharing in a given ratio, that's our gold learning, and we'll go through them step by step. Okay, a ratio. A ratio is a way of comparing the sizes of two or more quantities. For example, when you make a drink, you will put both cordial and water into the glass. So if you use 5 centilitres of cordial and 20 centilitres of water, that would be quite strong, but you would write that as 5 to 20 or 1 to 4. You might get a hint as to what we've done there. When you're comparing ratios, you might find it useful to use a table like so. And this one is for the cordial and water like we've just shown. Okay, so a ratio, as we've said, is a way of concisely showing the relationship between two or more quantities of something, or a way of comparing two or more quantities. So if the zoo had 4 elephants and 3 gorillas, the ratio of elephants to gorillas, elephants comes first, so it's 4 to 3. If it was gorillas to elephants, of course, it would have been 3 to 4. So here are some more examples we could have used, like boys to girls, tables to chairs, etc. How do we simplify ratios? Well, we had a hint about this earlier on. So if Ben the painter needs 6 litres of dark purple, he uses 4 litres of red paint and 2 litres of blue paint. We write the ratio of the number of red tins and number of blue tins, and then in its simplest form. So notice we put red, space and then a colon, and then blue. It's 4 to 2, and we can divide both numbers by 2 to give us 2 to 1. This is part of our bronze learning. Second example, Sarah has a number of white and black counters in a bag. So we've got 3 black counters, 9 white ones, so our ratio is 3 to 9. Both numbers are multiples of 3, so we end up with 1 to 3. Okay, so here's a few more examples. There are 4 of them. How would we simplify 8 to 10? 2 goes into both of them, so we divide them by 2 to get 4 to 5. 12 to 16 is what? Well, 4 goes into both numbers. 4 is the highest common factor of both numbers, so we divide both of them by 4 to get 3 to 4. 14 to 21, well, 7 is the only number that goes into both of them, so we divide them both by 7 and get 2 to 3. And finally, 40 to 50, the highest common factor is 10, so we divide both by 10 and get 4 to 5. Here are some questions for you to do. Write them down in your book carefully, simplify them, pause the video, and then mark them afterwards. Here's our answers. On the third one, notice I've just divided by 12 in one go, because 12 is the highest common factor. You can get to the right answer by doing it in steps, but it's nicer just to do it in one go. Okay, now, if we look at these examples, they're the same, but we must have the same units before we simplify, and that's all there is to it. So 800 grams to 2 kilograms is really 800 grams to 2,000 grams. We divide both numbers by 400, which is the highest common factor, and get 2 to 5. 40 minutes to 1 hour, well, 40 minutes is the same, and you've got 60 minutes for 1 hour, so we get 40 to 60, which we can divide by 20, their highest common factor, to get 2 to 3. 14 millimetres to 1 centimetre. Well, we should know there's 10 millimetres in a centimetre, so it's 14 to 10, which we can divide by 2 to get 7 to 5. 40p to £2 is 40p to 200p. We divide by 40 and get 1 to 5. Here are 4 for you to do. Pause the video and then mark them on the next slide. So here are your answers to those. Hope you got them all correct. Make sure you pause the video to mark them. And here's a further example, 25 minutes to 1 hour, so that's 25 to 60 and so on. Here's one for you to do, another one the same, 90p to 270p, which becomes 1 to 3. Pause the video while you work through these, please. Here are your answers to exercise 10A, questions 1 to 2. Pause the video while you mark them. Okay, part of the silver learning, expressing a ratio as a fraction. I would write this one down, even though it looks a little strange at the moment. A garden is divided into lawn and shrubs in the ratio of 3 to 2. What fraction of the garden is covered by lawn and shrubs? A lot of people just put the lawn on top of a fraction, on top below the shrubs, 3/2 for the first one, and the shrubs on the top of the second one. Both of those are wrong. In fact, there are 5 parts to the garden, 3 lawn and 2 shrubs, so that's 5 parts, so the answers are 3/5 and 2/5. When I say copy it down, I would copy down the correct answers. Okay, here are questions 3 to 6 from exercise 10A. Pause the video while you have a go at them. You also have access to the rest of the questions for exercise 10A. Make sure you, or even if they're not on the PowerPoint, make sure you work through those as well, and the answers to those are in this PowerPoint. Pause the video while you work. Okay, so here are the answers to questions 3 to 6. Pause the video while you mark them. Hope you got them right. As before, I said you've got the worksheet here with the rest of the questions on, so pause the video whilst you mark questions 7 to 12. You can email your teacher, of course, if there's anything there that you didn't get right and you want some help with. Okay, simplifying ratio worksheet. This is the next slide. If you haven't got the worksheet, then you can simply write down all the ratios in your book and simplify them. Here's the worksheet. Pause the video while you work through them. Okay, hope you got all these correct. Hope I got them all correct. So here are your answers to the simplifying ratios worksheet. Pause the video again while you mark them. Okay, now, part of the silver learning is dividing amounts into a given ratio. And we use this helpful, what we call a mnemonic, which is something to help us remember it. Adam. A stands for add, D stands for divide, A stands for and, M stands for multiply. So how do we use it? If we got to divide £28 in the ratio of 4 to 3, first thing we do is we add the ratios, so we get 4 add 3 equals 7. We then divide our original amount by that 7 to get £4, and then we multiply, and then it says and multiply each of our original ratios by that 4. So the amounts are 3 lots of 4, which is £12, and 4 lots of 4, which is £16. We can check our two amounts add up to £28 to help us know we got it right. Yes, we did. Example 2. Divide £40 between Peter and Hitan in the ratio of 2 to 3. First thing we do is add the ratios to get 5. Then we divide our £40 by that 5 to give us 8. And then Peter gets 2 lots of 8, which is £16. Hitan gets 3 lots of 8, which is £24. And as before, we can check that they add up to £40 we started with. So they do, and we know we are correct. Pause the video while you have a go at exercise 10b. As before, some of the questions are here, some of them are on the worksheet. All the answers are here though. So pause while you have a go. There's your answers to question 1. Mark things carefully. Here's questions 2 and 3. Pause the video while you have a go at them, please. And here is question 4. Have a go at that, please, before we do some marking. Okay, here's your answers to questions 2, 3 and 4. I hope you got those all correct. Pause the video while you mark them, please. Okay, as before, there are questions like 5 and 6 that you've got. Here are the answers to them. Okay, for question 7, we've got to simplify a ratio in the form of 1 to n. So let's look at the examples. If we had 5 to 13, if we want 1 to something, we have to change that 5 into a 1. We do that by dividing that number, in fact both numbers, by 5. So 5 to 13 is the same as 1 to 2.6, which we can leave as a decimal. Second example, 8 to 43. We divide both numbers by 8. So 8 to 43 becomes 1 to 5.375. Probably use our calculator for that. Third example, 9 to 22. To get the 1 at the front, we need to divide both numbers by 9. So we get 9 to 22 is 1 to 2.444444444444, or 1.24 recurring, which we could write as 1.1 to 2.44. Sorry about that. So here's question 7. Work through them carefully. Remember that for the later ones you need to get the same units before you can simplify. Pause the video while you do those. Here are your answers to question 7. Check them carefully, please. And here are your answers to questions 8, 9 and 10 on exercise 10b. Okay, so gold learning, solving more complicated problems. In a box, the ratio of nails to screws is 8 to 5. If there are 16 screws, how many nails are there? I start off by writing my ratio down. Nails to screws, 8 to 5. So 8 to 5 has got to become something to 16, because I know there are 16 screws in bold. What I need to work out is how much has my 5 been multiplied by. We call that the multiplier. And if we divide 16 by 5, we get the multiplier of 3.2. So the number of screws has been multiplied by 3.2. So the same thing has to happen to the nails. So the nails is multiplied by 3.2 to give us 25.6. We can't buy 25.6 nails, so we'd probably round that to 26, the nearest whole number, or nearest integer. You might want to write that one down. Example 2. Two business partners, James and Arav, divided their total profit in the ratio of 3 to 5. James received 2,100. How much did Arav get? Start off with the ratios, J to A, 3 to 5. James has become 2,100, so it's 3 to 5 is 2,100 to what? Same as before, we work out the multiplier, dividing 2,100 by 3 to get a multiplier of 700, and then we multiply Arav's ratio 5 by that 700. So Arav got 5 times 700, 3,500. Okay, there are 5 questions here for you to work through. Pause the video while you do that. Show all your careful working out in your book. Here are the answers to those 5 questions. Mark them carefully before we move forward. Okay, here's questions exercise 10C. As before, you have all the questions. Work through them carefully in your book. Pause the video before you move on. Here are your answers to questions 1 to 4. Make sure you included the units correctly in where appropriate. Moving forward, here are questions 10, 11 and 12. They're a little bit more difficult. Have a go at them carefully. Pause the video. Here are your answers to questions 10 to 12. Hope you got them correct. If you didn't, remember you've got your maths teacher that you can email to get a little bit more help, and you've got Hegarty Maths to look at too. Here are your answers to the remaining questions that we've not looked at. You have the questions on exercise 10C. Here are the answers. Pause the video while you mark them. Okay, so let's review our learning. We've done bronze, simplifying ratios in their simplest form. I'm sure you've done those. I'm sure you've done expressing ratio as a fraction, and you've divided amounts in given ratios. That's silver. Gold, we've solved some more complicated problems involving sharing in ratios. All that remains now is for you to look to see if there's any purposeful practice work being set, and also check to see if there are any associated Hegarty Maths tasks that you also need to do. But well done.